Hello, everyone, and welcome back to new number ones for the week of February the 18th. My name is Corey, and you're here with me now. And I have to start this week off with sort of I don't want to call it an apology, but more of just a statement or a disclaimer that if I had known a little bit more about this comic before purchasing it, I probably would have made a different selection. But I'm also not going to lie and say there really wasn't a lot of number one issues out this week that fit the parameter of what it is I'm trying to accomplish here. So that being said, we'll go ahead and get into it, and I'll give some of my thoughts later. So for the week of February the 18th, I picked up IDW's Smile for the Camera, number one. This is written by Hannah Rose May with art by Miriana Puglia, and is for the IDW Dark imprint, which is IDW, normally known for being a licensed company, and that's going to come up here in a second. IDW, they are a company that puts out comics with licenses like G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, Star Trek, that kind of thing. If it's a media thing, they'll pick up on it. So let me go ahead and get this out of the way now. When I bought this comic, I did not realize this was a tie-in to the Smile movies. Now, I thought Smile for the Camera was just sort of a title that played into the premise. So, real quick, the premise is that this is a book focused on models, young women in 2005 who are in the modeling industry, and this sort of horror that is encountering. So, Hannah Rose May is a model and an actress who has been getting a lot of work in comics lately. She's done Harley Quinn for DC. She has Exorcism at Buckingham Palace, which is another one of her books that she's coming out. She's not a stranger to the world of writing. So I think sometimes when you say someone's as an actress or they're not a comic book writer first and foremost, you get an idea that they're not suited for the job. I don't think that's the case here. This comic is what it does very, very well is it creates its world and introduces you to a series of characters and the things they're encountering. So the book does an amazing job of that. She has set a scene. She has set and made sure that you know that the main character is an outsider to this world of modeling, despite the fact she's got a natural knack for it. You're introduced to some of the more of the scummy elements, people who are mainly there to use their power to abuse these young women for their own lustful gains, essentially, in exchange for putting these women on the map. So Hannah Rose May, I don't know if she has personal experience in that, but she's obviously very familiar with the world of modeling, and it shows. The one criticism I was going to have, I feel like I can't even really call it a criticism anymore, and that is we don't really know anything about the supernatural threat. If you're familiar with the Smile movies, then you know that in these films, these young women are not, well, yeah, young women, because there have been two movies, and in both the protagonist is female. These women have encountered someone committing suicide in front of them in a very graphic way, and it kind of puts a curse on them where they're being stalked by this entity who is trying to terrify them as they are taking over their body, and ultimately will lead to them also committing suicide graphically in front of someone and passing that curse on to them. That's the premise of the movies. That premise very much stays true to the comic, but again, I didn't know this was a tie-in to the Smile movies, despite the fact it says Smile right there on the top. Again, I thought it was just a play on the modeling thing. Um, so my criticism was going to be there's not enough like purchase in about what the horror is. You see someone commit suicide in the first thing by jumping headfirst into the turbine of an airplane, and then you kind of have a character that gets little glimpses of being mocked by something that is trying to drive her insane. But you don't really see too much of it, and that was my criticism. Like, I don't really know if there's enough here that makes me want to keep pursuing this. I won't lie, I'm probably not going to pursue this knowing it's a tie-in to a movie series. I don't care for the Smile movies; they're fine. It's fine. I don't really like a lot of tie-in comics in general, though. So that's going to be my criticism is that, if you're into horror and you like a proven franchise, check out Smile for the Camera. Hannah Rose May, she knows what she's doing in this world. It's a world she's familiar with. The art is pretty good too. I mean, it's, pretty standard stuff. It's not anything that's super stand out for me in that regard. It doesn't take any really bold chances, or it doesn't do anything interesting or unique. It's serviceable. It is what it is. So again, if you're into horror and you like proven franchises, by all means, check out Smile for the Camera. That being said, I'll go ahead and take this time to bring up the fact that I'm still not sure how I want to treat publishers like Vertigo or Image, because they are bigger names, especially because Vertigo is a part of DC Comics. But Vertigo recently made this big push that they are moving back away from the superhero world and focusing solely on like horror and crime and whatnot. So I'll mull on it a little bit more, because honestly, the choice this week was this or a Vertigo comic, and I went with this because I was like, well, at least it's not tied to anything major. Not realizing that it was in fact tied to two major motion pictures. But live and learn. What are you gonna do? What's up, Dusty? It's American Dream Dusty Virgil over here. Anyway, that being said, last week, a couple days ago, the Wonder Woman episode where we will review the Wonder Woman villains that I put together in a PowerPoint for Dylan and John. That episode came out. It's a lot of fun. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this upcoming week is going to be a return to a lost episode of ours where we're going to talk about the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, which is a good conversation that we've had a couple of times now that finally is coming out due to technical issues that were beyond our control previously. But yeah, like I said, I'll think about Vertigo and Image and possibly bringing in some others. I've been really enjoying using like Ignition Press and Invader and as publishers to talk about because they are newer and smaller. So we'll see. The format of this can change. My goal though is still no Marvel, no DC. If it's going to be a superhero, it's going to be an indie superhero at best. Thank you for that, Dusty. I appreciate the camera's tilt. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Later.